I was going to take a look at AEW's Fight Forever in today's video, but everyone else has that covered. You don't come here for the new stuff anyway, so let's take a look at Rumble Roses. Like Fight Forever, this game was developed by Yukes, though we have an interesting publisher this time around. It's Konami, back when Konami used to actually care about console games. Rumble Roses runs on the Smackdown Here Comes the Pain engine, but you pervos weren't banging this game for the crops. Oh no, Rumble Roses can be described with one word. Jiggly. It's very, very jiggly. We have a full female roster in this game, and sex appeal is the driving force behind Rumble Roses. Not pulling off F5s and jackhammers, although you could pull your jackhammer. Anyway, I have no experience at all with this game, so this is going to be a voyage of discovery, a voyage to Jiggle World. I do remember downloading the demo of this sequel on Xbox 360, and I didn't think it was all that bad, but I only played it a few times, and that was many, many years ago. So this is all new to me, and I'm actually pretty excited to try this out. I mean, Here Comes the Pain, the Smackdown game that everyone says is top tier. Rumble Roses sounds like a no-brainer, so let's check it out and see if we can find something beyond the jiggles. Alright, first, the big question is why? Why did Konami want Yukes to develop a PS2 wrestling game that's main focus centers around scantily clad women? The answer is simple: to appeal to you, the hornball teenager at the time who also happened to enjoy pro wrestling. The game was announced at Konami's Gamers Day press event back in January 2004 as WWX Rumble Roses, and Akari Yoshida, producer of Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo, said, WWX is a powerhouse combination with some of the best wrestling action found on any platform, sexy female models, audacious poses, and bold moves, all delivered with state-of-the-art graphics for a visually stunning game. President of Yukes Entertainment, UK Taniguchi, said, when Konami approached us with this concept, we could hardly wait to get started. Oh, I bet you couldn't. We're excited to develop a new style of wrestling game, one that provides a high quality wrestling experience but also introduces humor and a whole lot more sex appeal. So I'm expecting high quality wrestling, hilarious jokes, and sex appeal. Sounds like a recipe for success if you ask me. I start the game up and man, the opening FMV goes on forever. I mean, it looks great and all that, but you've got a full cover version of David Lee Roth's Yankee Rose, and that whole song plays, including the fade outs. The video's so long that footage begins to repeat in places, but anyway, I'm in the main menu and oh no, there's no tutorial. Not a big deal, but it would have been handy. Upon researching Rumble Roses, I learned that the US and EU versions of the game got a ridiculous amount of content removed or changed completely, and one of those things taken out was a tutorial mode. I also noticed that the Japanese version allows you to switch the language to English, but this also makes changes to the game. So I'll re-download the game and I'll try the Japanese version with the English language switched over. It's my understanding that the definitive way to play this game is to just play the Japanese release and keep the language set as is, but I want to see what happens in story mode, so yeah, sorry about that. So I start the Japanese version of the game, I watch the Yankee Rose video again because reasons, and there it is, tutorial mode. Let's switch the language over to English, let's check out the tutorial, and yeah, it's only the story mode that gets translated. The tutorial videos are just videos that contain Japanese subs and instructions hard-coded. So it's going to be a case of visiting game FAQs and setting up a few singles matches to work out what's going on. Brilliant. So here we are, Dixie Carter versus Ya Mum. I was hoping for a Here Comes the Pain control scheme, but no, this is going to take a bit of getting used to. Square performs strikes, triangle performs Irish whips and grapple moves. Circle is a general action button for pins, breaking submissions and getting in and out of the ring. And the X button makes your character run and the jiggles jiggle. R1 is your counter button, on its own it guards, and along with square it will counter strikes, and with triangle it counters grapples. L1 pulls off your killer or your lethal move, and L2 pulls off a humiliation move. These can be countered by holding R1 with L1 or L2 respectively, and I'm not going to remember any of this shit, so my plan is to just hope for the best. You see that heart filling up when I attack your mum? This is the humiliation meter. Why humiliation is represented by a heart, I don't know, but certain moves you perform will fill up your opponent's heart and then you can pull off a humiliation move. The be all and end all super finishers of Rumble Roses. And that's the basics of the game. First impressions are pretty good. The game looks the part for sure, and for a PS2 game it looks very bright and lively. I like the isometric camera angle. I like that the moves you pull off feel like they've got a ton of weight, and I also noticed quite a few Smackdown animations while playing this little self-made tutorial. It doesn't feel like this giant monumental task to learn the ins and outs of the game, and the only real trouble I see myself having is remembering button combinations for reversals, but like anything, I'm sure it'll come naturally in time. Character entrances are quite spectacular, and yes, I know the focus is on the outfits and the characters being all sexy and whatnot, but there are games out there with less effort put in the entrances with holy shit, why is she on a giant frog? With that being said, you'll end up skipping these eventually, so it doesn't really matter. Again, first impressions are good, but there's more to figure out here, because this vow option came up when selecting Dixie Carter, and I have no idea what this is all about. So let's see what's going on. Let's look at the instruction manual. It says, vow system. Yes, there is honour in the game of lusty wenches wrestling in the mud in their thongs. What? For the Rumble Roses, it comes in the form of a vow system, a set of agreements made prior to a match where those who honour their vows earn percentage points to enhance their personalities. With enough enhancement, a character can challenge for a title match, or her alter ego can be unlocked. Initially, all characters start out with a 50% healer face status. The vow system can cause this status to reverse or increase. The character's alter egos unlock by reversing her status from face to heal, or vice versa. There are two purposes for using the vow system. Number one, unlock character's alter ego. For example, Reiko Hanamoto at default is a face wrestler with a rating of 50%. By switching her to heal status, her heal alter ego, Rowdy Rico, becomes available. Number 2, qualifying for a title match. Increase the face and heal rating enough to qualify. The face and heal rating can be raised or lowered by setting vows before a match, then successfully honouring those vows in the match. These vows are set in the vow system screen just prior to a match. Alright, so this sounds pretty unique and also pretty awesome. Certain tasks you do during the match can make you shift into a babyface role or a heel role, and from what I gather, successfully changing your role will unlock a new version of your character. On the character select screen, you can tell who's a babyface and who's a heel by the red and blue colour scheme used for each wrestler, so it appears we have quite a lot of unlocking to do. Basically, a vow is promising to do certain things within a match. You can select 3 before the bell rings, but unlocking heel or babyfaces via exhibition will only allow you to play as those alter egos within exhibition mode. You gotta go through the story mode to unlock the alter ego story too, so the game does give you plenty to do in that regard. I've said this in other game reviews, but I'm a sucker for wrestling games that try to do things a bit differently. Even if the ideas aren't executed all that well, I still enjoy seeing developers experiment and get away from the usual stuff we had to endure during this era. So this heel and babyface system is something that I personally really like, though remembering to set up the different vows before a match is going to become a bit of an annoyance, I'd assume. So before tackling story mode with my tackle, I wanted to play a few proper exhibition matches against the CPU, and I don't know if it's because I'm a complete noob, but I struggled quite a bit to begin with. It's not that the CPU's overly relentless, it's because I'm juggling a few wrestling games behind the scenes at the moment at the same time, and it's taken me a little more time to adjust the Rumble Roses control scheme. Being the grapple connoisseur that I am, and being the super serious guy that I am, who takes his wrestling matches super seriously, the jiggles are, I don't know, constantly there, let's say that. I know, that's the whole selling point of the game, but those developers did their absolute best to use camera angles that, well, put it this way, if your opponent takes a move and they're on the mat, it's like the developers said, perfect opportunity, zoom that camera right in and give the player a good look into the void. It's a pretty even blend of pro wrestling and polygonal puss. You can't have one without the other. And I'd imagine a lot of secondhand embarrassment would come your way if a family member walked in and you had old Rowdy Rico here in a surfboard stretch. That being said, the wrestling within the game isn't all that bad. It's actually pretty fun, and the one-button killer and lethal moves that don't require a setup tends to make Rumble Roses also feel like an arcade game, which is something I like. So to wrap this part up, it's a pretty decent wrestling game where you're going to get accustomed to seeing your character in some compromising and opportunistic states. For me, that's okay. For you, the guy with an overbearing girlfriend and parents who like to watch you play old PS2 games for some reason, you might need to play this one in your dark little garden shed or wherever you conduct your daily nefarious business. The more exhibitions I played, the more I began enjoying the game. You can pull off some pretty nice sequences, and some of the moves look absolutely brutal. So in terms of the in-ring action, I think Rumble Roses is definitely a winner. There are way worse wrestling games than this, and I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't give this a fair chance when it first came out. Now that we've got that out of the way, and now that you know it's a good wrestling game with half-naked women, let's try story mode without giggling every time there's a big pair of melons on the screen. Alright, so I selected Aisha for my first story playthrough. She's a babyface, but she sure does act like a heel. The voice doesn't suit the character at all either.
I'll never get satisfaction until I have her smiling face under my boot.
Aisha has beef with Dixie Carter. She seems to be determined to get some satisfaction, and the only way she can do that is by messing Dixie up in the middle of the ring. To prove how much of a badass she is, she gives us a little dance, and then we have our first match. We then go backstage, we bump into Dixie, and Dixie has no time for a scrub like Aisha. Dixie's here to fight Rico, so Aisha decides to hop on a plane so she can compete in a mad mud match against Candy Kane. And again, Aisha comes across like a heel. We learn that she's a spoilt rich girl and she looks down on those who have no money. So either we have things getting lost in translation, or the developers didn't really care about the storyline aspects of these heels and babyfaces. Mud wrestling matches then, here we go. The ring ropes have been removed and you're in this shallow pool filled with mud. Splash around, get yourself and your opponent all muddied up, watch the mud disappear, do it all over again, and that's about it really. You still win via pinfall or submission, you still pull off the same wrestling moves, but you do have these platforms you can jump off for high risk attacks. It's shameless, absolutely shameless. And unfortunately, it's the only other match type that's available in Rumble Roses. Beat up Candy Kane and Anastasia's gonna show up, introducing herself as the assistant and nurse to Lady X, the CEO of the Rumble Roses Wrestling Federation or something. This lady doesn't want to fight you, she's actually quite complimentary towards your jigglies, but I'm sure that's going to change very soon. Back in the arena, you get a match against Miss Spencer, and afterwards you tell Dixie that you're going to mess Rico up. Doing this should be enough to get you a match against your arch nemesis, so Rico's next on Aisha's hit list. So it goes back to the ring to kick some more ass, beat Rico up, and you'll get your match against Dixie. It's here where we learn how this blood feud began and why old Aisha's got a bee in her bonnet. Basically, Dixie was popular in high school and Aisha couldn't get over it. So Aisha did what any self-respecting woman would do. She waited until Dixie became a wrestler so Aisha could challenge her to a fight in the middle of the ring. Turns out Dixie can't fight for shit and she tops out in no time at all. After the match, Aisha and Dixie show some mutual respect, and that's the end of Aisha's story. Or is it? Remember Anastasia from earlier on? Well, she's back and she's being a bit creepy. Apparently she wants your body parts for something. Yeah, this is getting kinda dark. So you're gonna beat up Dr. Frankenstein here, and then you get introduced to Lady X. She kinda reminds me of Kano with big jigglies. We learn when we defeat Lady X that she's got another form, Lady X Substance. This cyborg's no pushover at all. She can even twist her whole body while performing suplexes, and get this, one of her moves is a missile fist. The jokes just write themselves. Lady Substance kicked my ass pretty good, but a rematch saw our hero Aisha rise to the top of the Rumble Roses Championship Wrestling Company. Dixie comes down to help out during the final cutscene. Again, we get some mutual respect between the rival Roses, but both still remain competitive. And that's the end of Aisha's story mode. Or is it? Yes, it is. You're gonna unlock Aisha's heel alter ego Showbiz, and she must be a right nasty piece of work seeing as Aisha was so far stuck up her own ass. We also unlock alternative attires and bikinis, and I don't know, I kinda feel like I have to go through the heel story now, but for some reason I also really want to play Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's restart and see how the heel story plays out. I'm not expecting Shakespeare, by the way, but it has to be better than the story we just witnessed. Alright, Showbiz. Aisha's music career went down the toilet and she's now a dancer. A pole dancer, as we had learned from her entrance. She's down and out and she needs to get her popularity back, and you guessed it, the only way she can do that is to beat up other roses in the ring. This sounds more like a babyface angle, doesn't it? Anyway, you don't get a fully fleshed out story for these alter egos. You get a unique opening scene and you get a bit of back and forth before the final match, and that's it. Showbiz fights the heel version of Dixie. Dixie's became a cop, so yeah, that's a pretty big heel move right there, isn't it? Sergeant Clements wants to put Showbiz in jail, and you're not about to let that happen. So beat up Dixie once again, smash her face into the canvas during the final cutscene, and there you go, job done. Because this was so short, I guess I'll have to pick a regular non-alter ego heel to go through story mode, so let's go. This is the last time I'll be playing this mode because I doubt I'll ever come back to Rumble Roses, and if I was that desperate and I wanted to unlock everything, I'd probably just download a save file, which I did. Younger wrestling bios might have been inclined to put in this work, but older wrestling bios is a lot wiser. We'll go with Bloody Shadow this time, and again, this is supposed to be a heel, but her story sounds completely babyface. She works for some mysterious ninja gang and she's under orders to infiltrate Extreme Rumble Roses Wrestling and investigate what's going on. Something's not right with this company, and by God, someone has to see what's up. You fight the BBD, which stands for Big Bodacious Donkey Dick, and Shadow notices a mysterious tattoo that looks all evil and stuff. Where to next then? Straight to the beach for some mud wrestling. Candy loves the mud wrestle and she's not about to give up her job anytime soon. So get the victory and head back to the arenas. Anesthesia catches Shadow snooping around, and it turns out the Doctor of Thugonomics here knows more about Shadow than she's letting on. You then have a match against a lady who accuses you of stealing goats, not even joking. But you notice that this lady and Evil Rose both have that same tattoo. Clearly there's some sort of crazy brainwashing nonsense going on in the wacky world of Rumble Roses. So Rowdy Roddy Rico thinks she can take you out, so you decide to turn into a fucking log and she smashes her skull in half. You then wrestle Evil Rose. Anesthesia says you now work for her and not the super secret ninja society. So you beat up her heel alter ego known as Dr. Cutter along with Lady X and Lady X Substance. The story ends with the babyface version of Evil Rose acting all high and mighty while you remain loyal to the ninja life. I then gave in. I wanted to check if Shadow's alter ego story was as paper thin as Aisha's, so I select Judgment, and yeah, even the cutscene animations are the exact same. If you play through every character's story, you're going to learn more about Lady X and the diabolical scheme she and Anesthesia run behind the scenes. You'll also unlock Lady X and Lady X Substance to play in the game if you complete story mode with every character. You can also just grab a save file from game FAQs that's been patched, allowing heels and babyfaces to be selected in exhibition instead of one or the other. So here's a look at the complete roster with every alter ego. Finally, let's take a look at gallery mode, a place where you can look at character models because you know deep down you really want to. You can change attires here, move the camera into whatever position your filthy mind desires, but if you leave the controller down without pressing any buttons because, you know, you're probably busy, a secret interview mode will begin where you can learn more about the roses, their favourite colour, their favourite places, their measurements. For folks highly interested in Rumble Roses lore, as as deep as it is, this is where you can find out all about the wrestlers' personal preferences. The Japanese version has an extended gallery mode. You can watch a few movies here, with one that specifically tells you to keep your pants up while playing the game. Fucking hell. There's a couple of music videos here too, if that's your thing. And there's also an image gallery that was just too much for gamers in America and Europe, I guess. While talking about the Japan release, I'll also mention that there's this creepy dude named Sebastian who can be unlocked, and again, this guy must have been too much for America and Europe. He's quite the character, isn't he? And also something else, when applying submission moves in the Japanese version, you can go into Ultra Perv mode by taking control of the camera. Clearly, Japanese players were having a wonderful time with Rumble Roses. As mentioned earlier, there are more regional differences in Rumble Roses, with many of these centering around entrance music, character names, changes in heels and faces. So if you want to learn more, you can look all this up. I started this video off having no idea what Rumble Roses was like, and I gotta say, it's a good wrestling game. If you enjoyed the Smackdown games during the PS2 era, then you're gonna like this, but do think of Rumble Roses as more of an arcade game. It's a little more limited in terms of game modes and match types, but the action in the ring is really solid, and old school Smackdown fans will feel right at home after getting used to the button layout. It really doesn't take that long. The selling point of the game obviously wasn't how well it played as a grappler, and the stories that I played through in single mode were interesting to say the least. But underneath it all, there's a decent wrestling game here that I actually recommend you play. A sequel got released too, Rumble Roses XX or Rumble Roses 20? I don't know. But I'll give it a go soon and upload a video once I've gotten to grips with it. Rumble Roses XX is still available to purchase on the Xbox store, and it's also backwards compatible, so I'll get it downloaded and try it out in the next Wrestling Bios gaming video. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and please take care.